Hello everyone, I'm Ronn Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media and this is Journey to Elections 2023, just for the record. Today I am joined by the Virgin Islands Party 4th District candidate, Mrs. Luce Hodge Smith. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. My name is Kamal Haynes. Most of you know me from 284 News, but now you get to see me in a different light on my very own show called Health is Wealth. We have Joel Turnbull.
I don't want you to arch your back when you're pulling down.
Milton McLean.
First of all, right, your footwork.
Stephen Payne.
That was a 9 out of 10. I know you got the service down pat.
Steve Augustine.
You did a pretty hard workout today, so perhaps...
And as you can see, it's actually
you're feeling it.
Lonzo Boynes.
Taekwondo.
Adam Murrows.
I'll speak as if you're an absolute beginner.
I am an absolute beginner.
You are an absolute beginner.
And Seth Graham.
It bites.
It will bite.
Get your water, get your fruits and veggies, and experience a wealth of knowledge about getting healthy.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back everyone and thank you so much for sticking with us. As promised, you're watching 284 Media, our Just for the Record Election Series 2023. I'm today joined by returning candidate under the Virgin Islands Party for the 4th District, Mrs. Luce Hodge Smith. Mrs. Hodge Smith, welcome to our platform and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ron, for having me here.
So the last time we sat down in this fashion politically
Yes.
was 4 years ago when you first ran under the Virgin Islands Party in the 4th District, and yet again you are presenting yourself as a candidate. With all that has transpired throughout the past 4 years, I'd say, and most importantly the last few months into the year, why did you decide to come back as a candidate?
Ron, as you did say this, I am a returning candidate. I did the 2019 general elections. I put myself forward to ask the people of the 4th District to select me to be the one to represent them. But that wasn't to be at that time. So since the last 4 years, what I've been doing is preparing myself mentally and professionally, personally, because I knew that I would come back. I did very well the last time. For a first timer, I lost by 57 votes, and I was encouraged. I wasn't disappointed at all that I lost, but I was encouraged and said, well, there's a chance that I could come back because the people actually give me a good showing from the last time. So what I decided to do is stick it out and waited for the next 4 years. But instead of just sitting around and waiting, I was very active in the district.
Tell us about that.
Well, yes, I was very active because, you got the support from a lot of people. You did well for a first time, and don't give up. And I wanted to show the people that I genuinely cared and I genuinely want to represent them. So I was very active in the district. I had, because of COVID, of course, we had some setbacks. Of course, I had 2 back-to-school of supplies, distributed back-to-school supplies to the students in the 4th District for 2 years. I also sponsored our A's basketball team from the 4th District. I helped people. They reached out to me for assistance and I guided them where I could. If I couldn't help, I gave them information as to where they could find the help that they needed. I stuck out with the district. I visited. Whenever there were activities, I was fortunate enough for sometimes to receive an invitation to events that were happening there, and I made sure that I attended these events. I also give out turkey and ham for Christmas time. I did it for the love of the people, and I did it to show them that this is the type of representative that I would like to be for them, to be there when they have a question, to help them, to guide them. And I also help a couple of young people to get jobs, to guide them as to where to get the applications, how to do the application process, reminded them as to, did you get your letter of reference to attach to your application, etc., etc. And we also had volunteer work a cleanup. We
Okay.
had one cleanup, actually, and that was really huge. That was massive. We had a lot of students come out and did the cleanup in the district so that they could get hours.
Wonderful.
And there's more. I probably can't remember.
Understood.
But I developed a relationship with the young people in the district and also with the seniors. And so I stayed active.
Now, with staying active and doing all of that, there may be some persons who, for whatever reason, still don't know who you are. Who is Luce Hodge Smith?
Well, let me see if I could tell you in a nutshell, because it's not one of the things that I like to do,
Okay.
talk about myself. But as you said, I am Luce Hodge Smith. I am the daughter of Dorothy Durant and the late Neville Hodge. I was born and raised in Rotown. My mom's, of course, was a single parent, but I was raised by, my mom was assisted in raising me by my grandmother and my Aunt Irene, who has also, of course, their blessed memory. So I grew up in town, as I said, attended the Rotown Primary School. I did 1 year in the then BVI High School, and after that 1 year in the summer, I migrated to New Jersey, and I lived with my uncle, who's now a blessed memory as well. So my education continued from here into Teaneck, New Jersey, where I lived with my uncle and his family, at the Teaneck Junior High School, and then I moved on to the Hackensack High School, and then I graduated from the Hackensack High School, and from there I attended the College of St. Elizabeth, also in New Jersey, in the state of New Jersey, and in 1986 I graduated with a degree in BS degree in business administration. I returned home after graduation. My mom attended the graduation with me. We packed up and we both came home at that time. So I am a mom, I'm a wife, I'm now a grandmother.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a proud grandmother of a grandson. So I'm a mom of 3, and my husband and I have been married now for 30-something years. I live, and I want to get this across, I live on Frenchman's Key with my family, but I am from the district. I am from Rotown, born and raised.
For the persons
yes.
who like to bring that up and say, well, she doesn't live in
Yes.
the district, what do you say to that?
Well, what I say is that I come to town every day. My husband would always say, but you can't stay out of town. Even on a Sunday, if I have to come to town, I come to town. My heart is in town. But there's no issue in me representing the people of the district, living outside of the district, because I come to town to work every day. I was fortunate enough to get a job at the BVI Airports Authority after the elections, after I lost. And I joke about it, but I actually had to cross 2 bridges to get to my job at
That's
Beef
because the
Island.
Airports Authority is on the
Because
far
it's
end of
at
the
Beef
eastern.
Island,
Yes.
exactly. So if I cross the Frenchman's
Bridge.
Key Bridge and then cross the Beef Island Bridge, I got to work.
Yeah.
I got to work. So Rotown is just in the middle of that.
Understood.
So I can get there. And if I'm fortunate enough for the persons to have that trust in me again, to put me in this time, I will have an office in the district and I will have office hours. So I will be accessible to the people in getting to them. So that is not necessarily an issue about me getting there. If it's an emergency, the emergency people will deal with it and I can deal with it afterwards. But most people will say, but you're not there in case of an emergency. I've heard that. That's been said to me. I said, well, I don't deal with emergencies. The emergency people deal with emergencies, and then I get there afterwards. But it's not an issue for me. I've worked in the capital all my life.
Okay.
Yeah, and I get to work.
Understood. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we've been through quite a bit within the past few years, most recently the Commission of Inquiry. I want to speak specifically to that. Do you view the findings of the COI as a fair representation of what has transpired in the Virgin Islands over the last decade or so?
Well, the COI, in my personal view, I had a little bit of trouble with it, especially with the one commissioner. I believe that to really get a true picture and a transparent and more of a a complete overview of what the COI was about, I think there should have been at least 2 or 3 other commissioners so that you can get different viewpoints, because people look at things differently. So when you have one commissioner of inquiry, one commissioner, there's only one direction, and that's his or her. It happened to be a gentleman this time. So you're just looking at him from his perspective. So there were no other perspectives added. So his decisions, his recommendations, and that was it. Now, I have no problems with the recommendations. I just have a problem with the timelines in which to get the recommendations implemented.
Do you think it was realistic?
I don't think it was realistic. And I've had conversations about this in the background personally and with groups. And it was a very interesting conversation I had one time on a beach with a group of British people, as a matter of fact. And I expressed myself, and I said to them that I thought that the deadlines were unrealistic. We needed more time. They said, "Oh, don't worry. That's just to get you to move a little quicker to get them done." I said, "Well, I think, it's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress on the employees and the civil servants to get the information." And I could understand wanting to get the information, but it was a lot of stress to get that information on time when the commissioner wanted it. So I have no problems with the recommendations, but I just feel that the timelines could have been a little better. I also feel that the recommendations, coming out of the recommendations, it helped us to move our country forward. These are things that needed to be addressed. These are things that needed to be attended to. And I believe that we will get to them. We have been getting reports from the Premier and the Governor about the progress. I think the progress is going well. I don't know why there are delays of the other recommendations, why they're not getting done on time. I don't know. I'm not there. I don't know what's behind the scenes. And I believe that efforts are being made to get them done. Okay. And I can see that from the reports. So I just feel that we can move forward from now on and really implement these things and get them out of the way. And not just to do them for the sake of doing them, because you don't want the number one recommendation to be implemented, but to help us as a country to move forward. From here, let's move forward. We've been in precarious events that happened to us in the past, and we have gotten over them. And this is an opportunity for us to see how we can do what we have to do, move forward.
Understood. I have to pay special attention to the 4th District, because that is exactly where you are seeking to represent the people. Yes. If elected, tell me some of the main areas of focus for you. Stay tuned for more Just for the Record right after this.
Angie, how can I get my claims paid quick? Rent's due next week.
CG processes 99% of claims within 5 days. Remember when I was hang gliding with those goats? I caught a gust of wind and flew right into a moving car. Every appendage was in the cast, and they paid fast and fairly. That's what I get for trusting a man with a mustache and an eye patch. Now I gotta go. I'm meeting the guy who bedazzled my toes.
99% of claims are processed within 5 days. CG Insurance. Good like that.
Rashford made it. Manchester United have come from behind to lead.
At home or on the go, watch CCT Live. Download our app and carry your favorite TV shows, news, or live sports anywhere you go. Visit cctbvi.com/live, select your package, and tune in.
I have to pay special attention to the 4th District, because that is exactly where you are seeking to represent the people. Yes. If elected, tell me some of the main areas of focus for you.
Well, I have about 11 areas that I will be looking at. But just to mention just a few of them, safety, number one, pedestrian safety. We've seen some improvements since the last time. I spoke about it the last time when I was campaigning. But we've seen some improvements since the last 4 years. We've seen some improvements in that. But there's still room for improvement because I walk the streets. Because when you can't get a parking...
Yes, you have to walk.
You have to walk. And I actually walked the other day. I haven't done that in a while because traveled to Beef Island to work. And just by chance, the shuttle didn't come my way. So I had to walk. And I've observed it before and taken the opportunity to walk to get to where I needed to go. It solidified what I observed. There's some areas in the streets that needs to be, the sidewalks, they need to be fixed. They need to be connected. So in other words, you're walking down the street, but there's a piece of sidewalk here and then there's a gap and then it continues. So we need to fix the gaps in the sidewalk so that people can safely walk down the street. In addition to that, since we have the traffic turnover, especially on Main Street, there are some spaces that you can't really put a sidewalk. And I was walking in the street. So imagine the pedestrians that have to walk there every day. So we need to be mindful and find an innovative and engineering way, I guess, some way to get these sidewalks properly done. And even where there are no sidewalks, and there is a sidewalk, but it's very, very thin, especially in that Serendipity bookstore area.
Correct.
So you walk in and then the cars are on the other side because the sidewalk is on the other side, because originally we used to walk on the other side. So we definitely need to get those sidewalks, not just connected, but build sidewalks where sidewalks are needed, because that to me is a major concern. The other thing that I would want us to do, we talked about the parking. It still continues to be an issue with the parking. And I see that some private landowners are building parking spaces, which is good. And I spoke to another one the other day, just having a conversation with them and say, what are you doing with your vacant lot? Why not let's work together to help you to put it into a proper parking space until you decide what you're going to do
develop.
In terms of developing, because they're not ready to develop. So let's get it properly done. So they're willing to get that done. There's a lot of talk about social ills in our community, and the 4th District is no different. And we are working towards helping some of these people, meeting them with the needs and helping them with the needs that they have individually, collectively as a family, and reaching out and seeing how best we can help them to get on their feet, not necessarily giving handouts, but helping them to help themselves where their needs are. So we're going to be working with families and individuals one at a time and helping them to get to the place where they're more satisfied and more sufficient, self-sufficient. In addition to saying sufficient, we have a couple of very innovative people in the district, and they just need a hand up. They don't need a hand out, because they're very talented and they're using their knowledge, their raw knowledge and their skills to create things like oils and body lotions and soaps and oils and that we can use, that we can help them to mass produce and sell, and not just sell here, but they're so good that they can export them. That's how much I believe in the products that they have, because I use them.
Okay.
You know, so we want to help those individuals to get their products out in the market, that they can help themselves provide more for their families, get their business established. And I know of 2, and I'm sure there are others. So we'll be reaching out to those persons who would want some help, some guidance as to how to get to the next level with their business ventures.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing your plans. One of the issues that we continue to hear about, particularly in the capital, is sewage.
Yes.
Do you believe that there's a sewage problem in the territory?
There is. I smell it. There is. And I did speak to a group of men under a tree just the other day, and they gave me some ideas of how we can deal with the sewage.
Okay.
We're exploring it. And of course, we can't, me as a district rep will have to depend on the ministry responsible for that area. So we can work together and collaborate to see how we can best solve that situation. So I did have some discussions with persons who know about this particular topic, and I hope to share that information very soon. But again, just ideas. We will explore all that we can to address these issues. And I know one thing for sure is, I think it's the connections. They mentioned about the connections and the outfill. And
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
A little above me, but I will get the help.
Understood. Now, a lot of the issues that you have mentioned are issues that other candidates have mentioned as well. These are also issues that have essentially plagued the territory for decades. Some of the issues that we spoke about, social ills, domestic violence, all these areas, I have known about since I was a child. There are some elected representatives, just like you said, you'd have to depend on the ministry responsible in the case of the sewage issue.
Yeah.
But what would you say to the people who are questioning or wondering, well, if it could not have been done within the last few decades, what would make Luce any different to be able to tackle and get somewhere with these issues? What do you say to those persons who ask that question?
That's a very good question, Ron. And I do have some solutions to, especially one solution where the issues that some of them are talking about, just talking to some of them the other day, is financially, they're not able to, even buy the basic things that they need. Medicine. Nobody should be able to not afford medication to help them with their health. So we are going to be doing some fundraising to get to help these people to be able to help themselves. One of the ideas that I came up with, and it's not a new thing, it's a benevolent fund. And a benevolent fund is where you get persons to contribute to this fund, and you also raise funds through different activities within the community, and you help the people with these funds. But it's a controlled fund. It's not that you collect it and you just give it willy-nilly. So you have to apply, and we have the idea of 3 persons managing the fund, and then you distribute it. Normally, this type of fund is managed or organized by a church.
Correct.
So if we started, and if there's a church that's willing to join us and collaborate, or even take it over, But the idea is to be able to get the help to the people that need. Now, we do have grants through the government grant program, through the social development department. But what I find is that social development, in my view, is trying, and I commend them for their efforts. But I believe the problems that we have are beyond what social development could handle on their own. So we need to participate in this way to help our neighbors to be able to get over the hump that they're getting over. So it's a complement or to supplement what you get from social development, because sometimes it stretches so much and only a little bit that you can get. And one of the things I would like to see is that when we're giving so that it could help. Not that you give so little that they still need to be able to find sources somewhere else to meet their needs. And the other thing is to help them, like I said before, help them where their needs are. Because we may lump everybody in the same lump sum and say everybody needs this. But it may be just for one individual or just one family to say, well, I don't have a job right now, but I need help with my rent. And I may need help with my rent for 3 months until I get a job. And that will be sufficient. Or somebody down the line will say, well, I need medication for the next 6 months. And you talk to them and you just don't give them what you think they need. I know they will put it on their application in social development, but then they may not get all of it from that particular department. So you would, again, meet them at their needs and try to help them where the help is most needed.
Understood.
And then also help them to get off their feet with a job, whatever the case may be, and and be intentional about it, and not just say you're going to do something and don't do it, but go back and check and continuously check in to see if they're okay, and be deliberate about your efforts.
This election, we've heard a lot about, or this season entirely, we've heard a lot about female leadership.
Yes.
My research shows us that to date we have 16 female candidates,
yes.
Particularly in District 4 where you're vying. You are one of 3 women contesting that particular seat.
Yes.
I want to focus a little bit on the importance of female leadership? And what would you say as a woman who's worked in the public service, now seeking to work in a higher office as it pertains to the importance of having women at the table?
Well, women, to me, in my view, personal, not just because I'm a woman, but it helps because it's coming from me as a woman with my personal view. Women tend to be a little more coordinated. And I'm speaking about myself. I have checklists. I work with checklists. If I don't put something on a checklist, I will forget it.
Okay.
Right? And that comes from being a woman and going to the supermarket with your grocery list, you know, and you tick the things off that you need, or you make a list of the things that you need to do for your children. You're taking them to after school, you have to pick them up, make sure they have their lunch. You have to take them here, baseball, CATS program, brownies, scouts, all these things you're doing, and you have to make a list of the things. So you tend to be a little more coordinated, and you tend to be a little more detailed, and you can see details, and you pick out the things that needs to be done, and you do things in a little different way. You tend to have a little more consideration for other women, especially those that you work with, because I was a head of a department. So I had women we were a department of women. So I knew, and they were mothers. They had to leave the office to take care of their sick child, or leave the office to pick up their child because the child's school ended at a certain time. So you have to have be a little more flexible in order to help their subordinates to help themselves to be more considerate of their time. I'm not saying that men can't do that, but I think with women, it's a little more in the details.
Okay.
And they could see things in a different light because of how they live their life on a daily basis, especially those that have a family and have to juggle church, work, family, and still try to take care of yourself. So if you can do that, it means then that you understand what others are going through, and you would have a more listening ear, and you will see things in a little more detailed.
Understood.
Now, I recognize that women are just as bright, just as articulate, just as passionate as the men, and they do deserve a space around a table to have a discussion as to where our country will grow and how our country will grow. And they too deserve to be a part of this team, you know. And once they present themselves, you have to present yourself. And it's not just because you're a woman, you deserve it. You just automatically get a space. You as a woman have to present yourself as well. And you have to prove to them that you're quite capable, and you have the knowledge, you have the experience, and you have a caring for people, and you want to help. And this is where you want to be, because it's not an easy thing, you know, because you have to work at it, and you have to be there, and you have to be present. So being a woman, and I admire the women for coming forward, and I applaud them, and I wish them all well, as woman to woman. So I don't see a problem with it, but it's up for the people to decide after they have presented themselves.
Stay tuned for more Just for the Record right after this.
There goes my new car. Guess I'm back on my bike.
Your bike? CG offers new car replacement. Remember my monster truck days? Well, one night I attempted a 50-foot pogo double backflip. I landed it and went to karaoke. It wasn't until afterward that my car got hit by that fisherman. He gave me some great mahi-mahi though. Anyway, they paid fast and got me in a new car. Now call a cab. I want you to meet my alpaca guy.
New car replacement for the first year of ownership. CG Insurance. Good like that.
Today, I am doing cobble treatments with Beyond the Reef. Today, we are doing shark research. So today we are doing whale research with Beyond the Reef. And wherever I go, I take CCT with me because my life is unlimited.
I have a few questions for you that are very short. You could answer yes or no, or you could give a detailed answer as to whether or not you would support this as an elected official. You spoke about social ills earlier.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on the legalization or decriminalization of marijuana? Would you support either?
I would support the decriminalization of marijuana.
Okay. The legalization of parimutuel betting.
I would support that as well. It's a form of revenue. As a matter of fact, I would extend that as well, not just for parimutuel betting, but betting and, or you want to say gambling in a whole, because there is something that I would like to see, and that is a heritage lottery where, and it is nothing new. And again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. It's something that happens in the UK.
Correct.
And we had applied to get funding from this heritage lottery. But because we don't contribute to it, we didn't qualify. So I said, well, why don't we do our own heritage lottery here in the Virgin Islands? So that lottery we would use to help to develop our cultural heritage, tangible and intangible. Because we always need to find ways in which to help to refurbish our cultural heritage that we have, the tangible, the historical sites, and use those funds to enhance our tourism industry through culture and making the cultural heritage more attractive. But for us to do that, we need the funding. So if we have a heritage lottery, that could help us to use those funds to help to develop and safeguard, protect our culture and our heritage so that we can present it in a more presentable manner.
Understood. The legalization of abortion.
That to me is a personal thing because of health-wise, I would say yes. If it means the mother is going to be of a danger to the mother, I would say for certain for certain cases.
Okay.
Yes.
The legalization of same-sex marriage.
That I don't support. I am for husband and wife, male and female. Why I say that is because it's a natural thing. It's not something that we here in the Virgin Islands, it's not part of our value system in terms of, I recognize that there's same-sex marriages and same-sex relationships. And I have absolutely nothing against that. Absolutely nothing against, because it's choice, right? And I do have no persons who I know that are in same-sex relationships, and I don't discriminate against them. But I think that in the Virgin Islands, because of our value system that we have, we go with, this is what we do, recognize husband and wife, man and woman as the natural thing for a marriage. Now, if we decide as a country, majority decides that this is what we want, same sex, then it's no choice. Then we have to go with it. But if the majority says no, I don't think it should be forced upon us by anyone, because, you know, the thing about culture and heritage and your value systems, it helps to identify who you are as a people. Just like the flag. The flag in every nation of the world represents them. So there's a difference between you and I when it comes to culture and heritage and our values. So when you do something your way and I do something my way, don't try to change me. Because it's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. We don't see it that way. I don't see it your way. So respect me for how I see it, and I will respect you for how you see it. But don't force it upon me.
Thank you. Speaking of cultural identity, you are former director of culture.
Yes.
Do you feel that we have a identity crisis here in the Virgin Islands? And I ask that because when you think of our emancipation celebrations, many persons are extremely critical of the way we choose to celebrate, and they also share that they feel as though we are easily encouraged by other neighboring Caribbean islands and how they do it. From your seat that you've sat as director of culture, and even now observing, do you think we have a cultural identity crisis?
Oh, how should I say that? Yes and no. Because we do have a culture, we do have a heritage, we do have a background. We came from somewhere, and it shaped who we are culturally in terms of our identity. We do have a crisis, yes, in a sense, because we are not strategically and consistently maintaining our culture in the activities that we use to display our culture. And you mentioned festival. Festival is our national festival. It's our territorial festival. Sorry for using the word national, we're not a nation. But it's our territorial festival that we use opportunity to display to the world. This is our culture. We are celebrating a significant historical event, our emancipation from slavery. Our forefathers, foreparents went through slavery. We're free, so we're celebrating. Certain things happened then. We see the evolution of festival into what it is today. But what it is today doesn't necessarily mean we have to change it to lose its sense of why we're celebrating. Yes, I know the young people want to change it because they want to be free to do what they want. They want to be free to wear what they want. My daughter, when she participated in the parade and she came home with the outfit, and I said, well, you're going to do this to alter it. This is not how I want you to present yourself. So we have to decide what we're going to accept and what we're not going to accept, because then it isn't us. It's not who we are. Because we're celebrating our emancipation and freedom. Yes, you're free to celebrate, but within reason.
Understood. Now, I have a few questions for you, lighter questions. I'm going to start with this. I believe I know the answer to this. If I was a gambler, I would probably bet on this one. Do you have a favorite sister island?
A favorite sister island? That's a tough one, Ron. I love all my islands, but I love Salt Island the most.
I should have bet. I should have bet. Do you have a favorite Virgin Islands cuisine?
Yes. The fish and fungi. I love fish and fungi.
With the mayonnaise as well?
Mayonnaise sauce, yes.
Okay. Beautiful.
I would add to that the pea soup as well. Those are my two.
Milk and sugar?
Of course.
Okay, gotcha. If you could take one person from VI yesteryear, it simply means that they're no longer here. Who would you take and why?
If I could take one person from VI yesteryear, and why?
Take them to lunch or dinner?
Take them. Oh, actually, my grandmother.
Okay.
Catherine Abbott.
All right.
Todman Abbott. She was very instrumental in raising me for who I am today. And I say that all the time, and I mean that. I wished I had more time with her. She had actually had an accident, and it caused her to suffer for a few years, and her health deteriorated from that. But she was a strong woman, and when I talk to her children, you know, they talk about her strength and her perseverance. She started out selling under the bungalow at the market in the Sir Alva George's Plaza, and she, you know, bought a piece of property on Main Street, and she built her shop, and she served the community, and she served the community well. I remember my sister and I, when it's just my sister and I, we had to stay by her when my mom went to work or whatever. And the loads of people would come to the store to buy from her, and it was always bustling. People from all Eastern, at that time, you had to come to town to shop from the country, and it was always a busy, busy place. And she cooked as well, and she provided food for persons in the community. They liked her fry fish and her baking, and so I remember her store being very, very busy, very active. Now, I'll tell you a little joke about her, what she did to my sister and I, because we were very friendly. We know a lot of the kids in the neighborhood, and we were more flexible, but some of the kids couldn't come out the yard to play, and my sister and I would go and visit them and play with them. But my grandmother, she was a stickler, and she would say, don't leave the shop, but we would run away anyway. So when we got back, she would actually tie us so that we don't go anywhere. But when you reflect, you laugh about it, but you still love her because that's who she was. And she really was a friendly person. And the neighbors knew her, had good relationship with her. And, she was to me, she taught me as a young child how to pray. Yeah, she set me down on the bed and kneel and say my prayers, the Lord's Prayer, the 23rd Psalm. So I learned from her a lot, and I admire her strength and her work ethics. And
Wonderful.
I think I emulate that.
Do you have a favorite Virgin Islands rum or drink?
Oh, I don't drink.
Okay.
Well,
beverage.
Not like that.
It
In terms
it could be a beverage.
No, I know we have local rum. Occasionally, I drink maybe a Kahlua and milk.
Okay.
Or the other one, the creamy one.
Baileys? None of them are local, but
I know,
I get
right?
your drift.
I know.
Okay.
Occasionally, or a glass of wine. But I don't really,
Fair enough.
I don't drink beers.
No problem at all. We got you. In the final analysis, Mrs. Hodge Smith, when it's all said and done on April 24th, the residents of the territory, and particularly in your case, the residents of the 4th District, will go to select who they would like to lead them into the next 4 years and perhaps beyond. Why should the people of the 4th District elect you to represent them?
Well, I would like the people of the 4th District to elect me because I pledge to be their representative that will always be there for them. I pledge to serve as their representative to address the needs that they would have, the district needs. And if I can't do it, of course, I have no qualms and no hesitation to seek the help from others and find ways in which to get things done. I am a humble person, I am respectful, and I'm approachable, and I really genuinely care for the people of the 4th District and my country. I love the Virgin Islands, I love my country, and I want to see my people grow. I want to see my people get on their feet, and I want to see my people excel. And I will do anything that I can to help the people of the 4th District and by extension the entire Virgin Islands in whatever role I will be honored to represent them in the House of Assembly. I promise that I would read all the documents, and I promise that I will go into the House of Assembly and represent them in an honorable way by presenting on their behalf. And not just attend the House of Assembly just for the attending's sake. I will participate in all areas. I've trained to do that. I've trained through becoming a member of Toastmasters. That's one of the things that I did in the 4 years. I became a member of Toastmasters, and I've helped to develop myself. So I just want them to give me that opportunity to be their representative. And I pledge to do the best to represent them to the best of my ability. I will give it 100%.
Well, Mrs. Hodge Smith, I want to thank you first of all for this conversation.
Yes.
And of course, in addition to that, by extension, thanking you for exercising your democratic right of seeking higher office within the election process. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ron.
You're most welcome.
I appreciate it.
Viewers, that's all the time we have. You've been watching Just for the Record, Journey to Elections 2023. We were joined by Mrs. Luce Hodge Smith, the Virgin Islands Party 4th District candidate in the upcoming general elections. 284 Media, I'm Ronn Grant. Bye-bye.
Yo, everything good, Dad?
Why? This thing got me one way, Daddy.
What do you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch when I reach home.
What do you really? Hey, this ain't like you, you know.
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out that trouble me.
Wow. What your name is?
Shit. I talking about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into, well, you know I huff. I watching ball. I been watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.